never thought a game about defending a garden from a bunch of insects bent on eating all of my vegetables would grab my attention as much as it did, but with Flora and Fang, Guardians of the Vampire Garden, that is exactly what happened. Now, what is Flora and Fang? Well, Flora and Fang is a new indie game releasing on July 10th where you take control of the children of Count Dracula, who also happen to be exceptional gardeners. Who knew? I didn't know the Dracula family had a green thumb. But Flora and Fang's job is to defend the gardens of Dracula's castle from these enraged insects who are determined to munch on every pumpkin in your gardens. It's a game with a really simple design that takes me back to playing older arcade games, but quickly becomes much deeper and rich with strategy as you play further and further into the different gardens. That makes this experience more addicting than I was really anticipating. Now, at first glance, this game could easily be dismissed as shovelware, but I want to highlight why Flora and Fang is a game that you may potentially want to sink your teeth into and why it really surprised me as I played. And I want to thank Flynn's Arcade for sending me a review code for this game, but let's get into it. Now, as I previously stated, this game is about Flora and Fang, the children of Dracula, defending the pumpkin gardens of Dracula's castle from a variety of insects that are determined to eat every single one of them. The game takes you through various one-stage levels where your battles with the insects will take place, and each level is unique, adding a variety of ways to traverse them, whether it be platforming from ledge to ledge, using ladders, which reminded me a lot of the original Donkey Kong, or using bubbles to bounce to higher platforms that were previously inaccessible to you. Each level has that classic arcade look and feel. And as someone whose favorite holiday is Halloween, the gothic aesthetic of Dracula's castle and gardens was something that I immediately vibed with and was really happy to see. I was keen to see how each level changed the design and what different location of the castle they would take me to. It was something that I just really appreciated as someone who enjoys spooky season as much as I do. Now, initially the gameplay seems relatively simple and honestly a little bit easy in those first few levels. You are put up against relatively slow bugs that you must spray with your bug spray and then jump into after they are stunned. And the bugs are, like I said, relatively slow initially, so taking them down and protecting your pumpkins is relatively easy in the early levels of the game. However, as you progress into more and more levels and more locations, more bug types are added, like the spiders that descend from the ceiling to snatch up your pumpkins, worms that come out of the ground to munch on them, or mosquitoes that simply shoot across the level when you line up with them just to piss you off. And each new bug has their own speed and movement patterns, adding a new challenge for you to overcome when tackling them. Sometimes these new bugs would force you to move your pumpkins even to more easily defendable positions where you can sit back and then take out multiple bugs at once, keeping you on your toes while playing. Now, with the addition of each new bug type, I was getting more and more engaged with the gameplay here, figuring out how to prevent a bug on one side of the map from stealing a pumpkin while mosquitoes were lined up to block my path on the other side was making this game very fun as far as strategy goes and how I was tackling these encounters. But as you progress further, you'll unlock shops, and at these shops you can spend coins that you've collected from spraying bugs with your endless can of off bug spray, and these shops offer a variety of useful items like additional health, shoes that make your character run faster, and a magnet to pull coins to you. But on top of this, you can also pick up traps that change how you tackle each level. And this is where the additional depth of this game started to come into play and started to really open up to me. Because while initially the game seems really simple with jumping around the level, spraying the bugs with the off bug spray, and then taking them out to progress further, unlocking these upgrades and traps really changed the strategy of how I was tackling each level and made each level very engaging. And the levels, in very typical classic arcade style, give you a rank at the end and a score that you can then go back and try and do better with, which I think adds so much replay value to this particular game. And it's something I personally really enjoyed. I went back a couple times and tried to get a better score on a level after I got some upgrades to try and maximize my performance. I really enjoyed this scoring system. On top of this, there's also these balloons that fly through the level that you can jump into and collect. And the balloons have these letters on them that spell out the word bonus. Once you collect all the balloons to spell the word bonus, you will immediately win the level that you are playing and start a bonus level that involves some sort of fun mini game, whether it be a cat tied to a balloon that you're dodging bugs with, trying to collect as many coins as possible, or a matching game. These will give you additional coins to continue upgrading your little vampires, which is a really fun little touch. It wasn't something I was anticipating as I was playing through the game, but it was something that was nice to see. It just kind of changed up the gameplay very briefly and was really, really engaging. Now, by this point, I was already fairly addicted addicted to the content that I had already dove into. I was really enjoying each level and the new bug types that were being thrown my way and the challenges that they presented. Taking out the bugs and defending the pumpkins with my can of off really had me hooked. But when I stumbled across the first boss fight level, I was shocked because I was not anticipating there being bosses in this game. And I was even more excited to keep playing because I wanted to see what other boss elements were in this game. And the element of the boss fights that really had me engaged was that it still had the element of defending my pumpkins from those stupid little bugs who never seem to go away no matter how much bug repellent I sprayed into the air. It also had the boss itself, which made for an even more entertaining gameplay experience because I was running from one side of the map to spray a bug who had picked up my pumpkin, was trying to fly away, while I was also dodging attacks from the boss, who was less interested in my pumpkins but more focused on just destroying me. And these boss fights added a new level of challenge and engaging gameplay and are easily my favorite levels in the game to play. Another thing to note is that this game does feature couch co-op, which I thought was awesome, and it's really, really cool. So you and a friend can sit down and tackle these levels, one person as Flora and one as Fang, and defend your pumpkins as a team while also seeing who can get a higher score throughout the run. Now, while I have really enjoyed my time with this game, no game is perfect, and I do have issues with this particular game. The first is that this game has such a fun art style, especially as someone who enjoys Halloween like I do. It was disappointing that each level seemed to have this kind of dark rim around them as the border. With how much I enjoyed the style and the look of these levels, I was really hoping that rather than this dark border, we would have just more art in the style of the level, just stretch out the level, and not even necessarily in a sense that I could play on those sections of the level, but just a fun art style surrounding the level would have been a bit more interesting in my opinion than just this black border that is currently there. The other thing I noticed is that some of the bugs seem to have kind of wild hitboxes and maybe larger hitboxes than were actually intended. And this could be really frustrating, as you would think that you'd be safe and not get hit by a particular bug, but then would take a hit, and that felt kind of bad. But this could be because I was playing a pre-launch version, and a day one patch might actually fix this issue once the game fully launches. The other and final thing that I noticed was that when I did go back and replay those levels to get a higher score, I was noticing I was getting less coins from destroying the bugs with my off than I was getting in earlier plays of that level. So it seems that going back and playing through the older levels doesn't reward you as much as far as coins go, which makes getting additional coins and upgrading your character a bit more challenging than I was hoping for. So in conclusion, Flora and Fang is a game that is deceptively simple at first glance, but as you dive further and further into more levels throughout this game, the depth and gameplay mechanics that you uncover really add to the overall experience of the game. The art style is cute and charming, and as a Halloween enjoyer, is something that I just immediately loved, and the levels and gameplay take me back to playing old arcade games. Not to mention that this game is at a perfect price point of $7 on the eShop. The game has so much to offer and tons of replay value, hopping in to get better scores on each level or sitting down to play some couch co-op and see which player can get the higher score. This is definitely a game that I recommend you keep your eye out on. But that is it for my review of Flora and Fang. Thank you again to Flynn's Arcade for sending me a review code for this particular game. It was something that I really enjoyed playing and plan to hop in and play some more with my wife, do a little couch co-op. It's just a really fun game that you can hop into, play about 10-15 minutes, get a couple levels done, and then come back to later. I really enjoy that, and the boss fights are just, I really like the boss fight levels. They are freaking awesome. So really like this game, and I hope you guys all check it out. Let me know in the comments below if you plan to check out Flora and Fang. But like I said, that is it for this video. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe because it helps me out, helps the video out, and helps the channel out immensely. And check out the Discord, people over there hanging out, talking Nintendo Switch 2 stuff all the time. But until next time, peace.